You're still watching Prime Morning, and the segment is proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise. Still phone papa perfect. Whatever gadgets you're looking for, is it mobile phones, television sets, CCTV cameras, refrigerators? I mean, all the gadgets you could think of, we have all of them, and they are of good quality, very authentic. Just make sure you visit any of our shops, or you can download the app on your phone, which is Franco Trading app, or visit our website for further enquiries, which is www.francotradingenterprise.com. Franco Trading Enterprise, still phone papa perfect. Now, today we are taking a look into the education sector. We take a look at the number of years that children spend in school. It's 11.5 years, talking about 11 and a half years. That's the duration of basic education. Now, when we look at this, during UNICEF's research, there was a dialogue and there was a research on it, we realized that it's only 5.7 number of years that we produce quality students. Quite worrying, isn't it? So they are in school for 11 and a half years, but out of the 11 and a half years is only 5 years, 7 months that they actually grab a lot from school. Now today we are going to bridge that gap. How do we do it? We have the people here that can talk about it, that hopefully will have a solution to it. And so we are taking a look at bridging the gap between quantity and quality of education here in Ghana. We'll also take a look into the manifesto of the two main political parties, that's the NPP and the NDC. What do they have to say about education? Now, we know anytime it's election year and we talk about manifestos, they actually bring manifesto on education. Now, which of these political parties are you taking a look at into their manifesto and saying that this is doable? Now, we've seen free basic education. We've seen progressive free SHS. We have seen free SHS. Now, we are also hearing of free first-year tertiary education. Is this what we need? Or we need more than that? Quality teachers. Do we need to reduce the number of years of children in school and changing the curriculum or changing the style of teaching so these young ones will be able to grab a lot in their head, and when they come out, we know that we have produced quality students? Well, we are going to delve into that, but I want to hear your voice this morning as well. I'll start the newspapers. I think I should introduce my first guest because he's here already. And so it's only right that I do the needful. His name is Mr. Noel Malpemo, and he is Malpegba. Sorry. Forgive me. You said the meaning, God, the voice of God. And your voice actually is deep, you know.
Thank you.
we can actually use you for a movie and your voice will be used because of God. So you play the role of God with your voice. Fantastic voice you have. So Mr. Malpegba is actually a PTA executive. And so today he will speak on behalf of the parents who have their children coming out and, you know, telling us whether we are producing quality students, and if we are not, what can we do to change that narrative? You can also join us as well. And then we'll also have Mr. Kwame Alovi, who will be joining us on Zoom. He is a member of the NDC. We'll have Mr. Hayford Atta-Krofi, who is a member of the NPP. He speaks on education. And we'll have Dr. Prince Ajay, who is a senior lecturer with the economics department at the University of Ghana. He'll also be joining us. Let me quickly read what the headlines of the newspapers have, and then we can delve into our conversation for this morning. Now, I'll start with the Republic Press newspaper, the Republic Press. And it reads, safeguard our democracy, President urges journalists ahead of 2024 elections. Bawumia takes jab at Mahama, calls him second-hand failure. I will work 24 hours, Mahama makes a new promise, okay? Boss Badasari rallies support for EC. Electricity, water tariffs up again. Wow. Central Region police officer killed, 2 injured in armed robbery attack at Dunkwa. Oh no, this is not what we want to hear. The Daily Graphic newspaper is the next newspaper. I'm reading the Daily Graphic newspaper. 28th GJA Awards promote a nation's peace. President Akufo-Addo charges media. Eliminating child malaria, GHS rolls out new vaccines in 136 districts. Elite Minerals lease was 2012 not in Forest Reserve. Ministry refutes allegations. And that will be it for the Daily Graphic newspaper. The Daily Dispatch newspaper is the next newspaper. The Daily Dispatch, December 7th, a new opinion polls. No first round win. Bawumia 49.4%, NEET 1% more, and Mahama 45.1%, NEET 5% more. This is the polls. Okay. Kandapar denies all allegations against him. Full statements by police on the Democracy Hub demonstrations, and Democracy Hub protest was political. Gideon Boako says this. The Ghanaian Publisher newspaper is the next newspaper, the Ghanaian Publisher. Sanitation Ministry refutes Mahama's false claim. Don't release land to illegal miners. Ochehene warns landowners in Achim Ebuakwa. Ekufuado charges journalists be gatekeepers of truth. Bawumia leads Mahama in latest polls, and MPA sensitizes consumers on safe use of LPG and CRM. My final newspaper is the Ghanaian Times newspaper, the Ghanaian Times. A GJ Awards ceremony safeguard our democracy. President Ekufuado admonishes journalists. President's daughter not involved in illegal mining. Lands Ministry says so. Electricity tariff goes up by 1.86%. Water 3.02%. And that will be all for what the newspapers have for us. And I have my second guest who just joined us this morning, and I have to welcome him. He's in the person of Mr. Hayford Atta Kofi, and he's representing the NPP. He speaks on education. Good morning, Mr. Kofi.
Good morning.
It's good to have
Thanks
you here.
For having me.
Great. And Kwame Alovi, who is representing the NDC, is also joining us on Zoom. Hello, Kwame. Kwame, kindly unmute yourself for us.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Fantastic. How are you today?
I'm doing great. And you?
I'm fine, thank you, Kwame. I'm very fine, thank you. And thank you all for joining us this morning. And you at home can also join us by sending your messages to us, which is 055-157-5757, 055-157-5757. Now, earlier, I did mention to Kwame, you can kindly mute yourself now, and then when I come to you, you unmute yourself, okay? Thank you very much. Okay, so earlier I was telling everybody that was watching, and if you just tuned in, I'll give you a little bit on our education system. For basic education, UNICEF actually did a research, and there was a dialogue on this as well. And we have some slides. We'll just take a look just briefly on some of the slides, not all, for you to understand what the research churned out. Now, we take a look at the average number of years spent in school by young children, which is 11.5, which is 11 and a half years. However, during this research, there was a discovery that it's only 5 years, 7 months that we have quality education put in these children. Now, the question is, how do we bridge this gap where we are having quantity children over quality children? So quantity education on children over quantity. So if you look at this, okay, so Ghana education context, the positives: strong political will and championing, foundation in data and evidence, learning assessment, strategic direction and sector coordination around the education sector plan, ambitious national reform agenda, including GPE partnership compacts with renewed focus on learning, example teachers, pedagogy, ECE, basic curriculum, access to SHS and TVET expansion, decentralization, education service delivery and governance structures, and emerging EIE structures and responsiveness, and also good development partner coordination. Now, this is the positives when it comes to our education sector. So we know that the strong political will is in there, the foundation in data and evidence is in there. So let me stand so that I can, So the key statistics on Ghana's education system, so we are looking at the statistics. We have 89% to 92% net enrollment rate, KG net enrollment rate in primary. So the 89% is for the KG, where we are looking at the enrollment in KG. We are seeing an increment of 89%. And when it comes to enrollment in the primary, there is 92%. Now we look at the gender. Gender index is in 2020-2021 at all levels from KG, it is 1% growth. Now this transition rate between JHS and SHS in 2019, that is 87.7%. 87.7%. Trained teachers in pre-tertiary education, we have 96%, which is good. It's really good because we are now seeing that we have more trained teachers in these sectors. So we'll take a look at the next one. Okay, good. Now we have this. Looking at the number of children of school-going age, that is between the age of 4 to 17 years, that are not attending school. We have 1.2 million children that are not attending school between the ages of 4 to 17 years. We are hoping that this gap will be bridged also. Now we come here and it's KG pupil to teacher ratio in Savannah region, we are looking at 78. The number of teachers on average absent from schools across levels. So teachers that are absent from schools is 11%. Why are these teachers absent from schools? That's another thing altogether. Now, 94% of students in Western North region perform below basic in English language. So is it that there's more promotion of their language there? Is it that the teachers, the quality of teachers that are taken there who teach in English language are not the standard that we are getting in other regions? We have to take a look at all of that. Now, 1 of 5 children aged between 2 to 7 have a functional disability. Now, this, I really wish that one day we'll have it in either of the political manifestos where we'll see that they say we are doing this for disabled children, because currently more disabled children have to be in private educations. 84% to 68% girls completion rates at lower and higher secondary school respectively. So if you look at the lower schools, we are seeing 84%. And if you look at the higher school, we are seeing 68%. So we are seeing that when it gets to that side, we are seeing more decline. When as they go higher, I don't know if they get married, or so early marriage, or they are taking care of the family, and this is where the problem is. Now, the learning and financing, 5.7 years, average years of schooling in Ghana. And you see, this is what I was talking about. The number of quality adjusted learning years is actually 5 years, 7 months. That children are in school but not learning for nearly 6 years. So they go to school for 11 years, 6 months. So 11.5, 11 years, 6 months. But education, it enters in for only 5.7. 5 years out of that. Quite worrying. Now we look at the budget, Ghana government budget. There's been a budget to education of which the allocation to basic education has reduced from 39% in 2019 to 19.6% in 2024. That 98% of basic education allocation goes into compensation. So there's a lot of questions here with regards to that. But before I go into that particular one, that I think will be part of my later question. But now, for now, I just want to ask our PTA chairman. He came in first, Mr. Maofebe. Maofebe. You know, I'm not Ewe, so pardon me when I'm trying to pronounce the Maofebe.
Don't worry, don't worry.
As a parent, as a PTA executive,
yeah,
what are the main concerns of parents with regards to churning out quality students?
When you look at the demographic you just played out, it's quite mind-boggling. And I realize that it's not a leadership crisis. It's a societal crisis, and we have been very dishonest to ourselves as a country, so to put it. Because I always stand that if you want to do politics with everything, education should have been standing alone, that it become a golden egg. Because for every nation, if your education is in tatters, you should know that you have no future. We always say there is a hope for the future, say yes, the Lord, as Christians who say. But the future stands on today, because today is somebody else's future. So if you are not taking care of the education that will serve your nation's right, where are you going? Others will have to come do that for you. So we as parents, we are so much concerned in reading this report. So the very statistics you have given out, looking at the budget that is a 98, but this is how much goes in and all that, I've read those overnight. As I was called on short note just yesterday night, but I stayed overnight to do some searching. And it's quite worrying that why should it be so? So we parents are saying that we should get to a point where education stands alone, because the table on which we are at this morning, minus education, where would you have been? What would you have been presenting? What should you have been giving us? And what could we have done? How would these machineries be operating? So education ought to be given such top-notch priority that is first without second. But have we done so in this country? No. We've all failed, including our professors and doctors, and we've all, as a society, failed.
Talking about we all failing, let me bring Mr. Kofi in. Mr. Kofi, I'm going to take you off political party colors and ask you the question with regards to what Mr. Malfebo just ended with. Malfebe. Oh, my God. Please pardon me.
Oh, you can.
Or maybe I should just call you Noel.
Noel, yeah.
Okay, I'll
Noel
call you
is
Noel.
fine. Noel
Okay.
is fine.
So with regards to what he said, do you agree with him that we've all failed?
Absolutely. Perfectly well with you. I'm a professional teacher. So within the context of education, I believe sincerely that education should be depoliticized, because every Ghanaian child matters. And when you are educating a child, I mean, look, we're looking at age 4 to age 17. They're still minors. So decisions as to what is good for them is something that has to be taken by educators and policymakers. So it should be depoliticized, because the most important thing is the sustainability of what they are doing, what they're learning. Children learn from the environment. So they are just, excuse me to say, chattels. They are out there, and we, the decision makers, are influencing what goes on. For example, there was part of your data that said that when they are in school for 11 years, it's only about 5.7 years of it that is into quality education.
Yeah.
So really, if we are able to think that education is for the future, and therefore it needs sustainability, then in taking decisions, politics should be taken out of it so that there's be standardization. When I'm leaving primary class 1 to primary class 6, I expect everything to continue to, year on year. But I don't want to see changes in educational policies midway. If a child knew that, then there will not be any motivation for them to go to school. So I agree with Noel that we should take education out of politics and standardize it for the benefit of children and for future.
Right, and I think Dr. Prince Jay has also joined us. Let me welcome him. Good morning, Dr. Prince Jay. Dr. Prince Jay is actually a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana at the Economics Department. Okay, Doc. Doc, I'll come back to you. Okay, Doc. Doc, can you hear me? If you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself.
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Doc, how are you today? And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share my views with you and Ghanaians at large.
Right, and I'll come back to you, but before then, I think that Kwame Alovi, who is the NDC spokesperson on education, is also on. And so, Kwame, let me bring you into the conversation. Kwame, please unmute yourself. Hello, Kwame.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. So, Kwame, you know, we are all talking about the fact that we should not politicize our education, but it looks like almost every government that comes in politicizes the education. Currently, with research from UNICEF, only 5.7 years do we produce quality education or produce quality students out of the 11.6 years that is being told that the children are in school. Now, as we are not going to politicize this, I want to ask you that what do you think we can do as citizens, as a community, as a society, to be able to produce more quality years out of the 11.6 years as compared to the 5.7 years that we are producing quality students?
Thank you very much. Let me first comment on this scapegoating politics. What is politics? Politics
is activities associated with the governance of a country or area, especially the debate between parties having power. It can also be activities aimed at improving someone's status or increasing power within an organization. So it involves choices. So all people are saying that we should not politicize education. Every political party comes with a policy. So the politicization that we are accusing, I don't get it. Let's come to the topic now. Quality education could be seen not only in the result that we produce, but something like which focuses on the whole child, his social, emotional, mental, physical, and cognitive development. It is a quality education that provides the outcomes needed for individuals, communities, societies to prosper. So if the society the education is not giving us that quality, then there's a problem. Now, for quality education to be realized, we need to harmonize all the elements in the ecosystem. The teachers, the parents, the government that provides the funding, then the environment in which the child operates, all must be harmonized to achieve quality education.
Hello, Kwame. Are you done?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
So thank you very much. All right.
Submission.
Okay, thank you. Let me go to Prince. Hello, Prince.
Hi.
Okay, so Prince, for us, you are the educationist here. You are a senior lecturer, and I have a question that I want to ask you, but I want to ask you this first before I go into that one. Now, we are looking at it where we are having political parties. So where we have Kwame Alovi says, no, we should wear the party colors. Why shouldn't we politicize it? And we have, can you hear me?
Can you come again? I could barely hear you.
Okay, so I was saying that I want to ask you this one first before I go into the other question. Now, we have two political parties, the NPP and the NDC. We have NDC saying that, yes, we should go ahead and politicize this. NPP says, no, we should actually generalize it because it's an inclusive fight. It is not about political party. Now, I want to know from you, if UNICEF is saying that we spend 11.6 years in school, we are having only 5.7 quality out of the 11.6 years, then there is a problem. What are the causes? Is it because of politics, or what is the reason that we are having this?
All right, thank you very much. So I would say that the education is a social good, and because of its benefits that affect every fiber of society, is a very important subject for discussion. I will not say it is politics, but I would say it is about governance and management, right? So when we talk of governance and management, we are looking at the various stakeholders like the educational instructors, the policy makers who design these educational curriculum, those who release funding, the headmasters, the heads of institutions, etc. So it is a shared and collective responsibility. We cannot just put the blame at the doorstep of politicians. I mean, let's even assume that the politicians do everything wrong or everything right. What role do the head teachers play? What role do the teachers who do the delivery also do at the point of interaction with the student, right? So the problem goes beyond just, like you said, scapegoating the politicians. The reason why usually the focus is on them is because they are, on the front line and in the limelight. But I just want to start from this point. When we talk of quality of education, we need to understand what are the indices of quality education, or what are the index of quality education. So I have categorized 5 areas. There is what we call the input index. When we talk of the input index, we are looking at what is the teacher qualification and training that goes into education? What is the student-teacher ratio? All right. What is the relevance of the curriculum, and how is the curriculum aligned with the needs of the people? What is the state of infrastructure? So we are looking at the input that goes into the production of education. That is one index. All right. The other index will be the process index. What are the teaching methods and the pedagogy that are available? What are the assessment and evaluation techniques? Are we only interested in rote learning, or we are interested in something else? What is the level and degree of student engagement and participation, right? What is the degree of classroom management and discipline? How is the school culture and the climate like, right? Then we look at what we call the output index, the student learning outcome, academic achievement. How many students are able to graduate? How many of them are retained in the schools? How many of them drop out? When students come out of school, how many of them are able to land jobs or create certain things for themselves? If we're able to look at these indices, we can then tell whether indeed the level of education or the quality of education is low or not. And I shudder to say that maybe UNICEF might have considered some of the indices for them to arrive at the conclusion that they have just arrived. So these are my initial remarks that I want to put across.
So then let me ask you this. With regards to UNICEF's research, how many years do you think, children should spend in school?
Well, this is a very tricky question because if we look at the number of years in the basic school, all right. So let's assume that a person spends 3 years in crèche, KG, etc., and then 6 years in primary school. That is 9 years. Then, if the person spends additional 3 years in the JSS, that becomes 12 years. Then, if the person spends additional 3 years in the secondary school, that becomes 15 years. So if we are considering from crèche to, let's say, secondary school to be the basic, then a person needs a minimum of 15 years, to be in school. But we all know that access to education and all that there is might not be the same.
Okay. So I want us to take a look at a country like Finland, where they are doing the quality over quantity. They are doing 11 years. It's a late start to formal education. The Finnish children start from schooling age is at 7 years. Ghana, there's a crèche. I don't know if we should even add crèche to schooling age, because they study, they do study, and that's like 3 years. Yes, so they start studying and, learning the rhymes and coloring at the age of 3. However, when you look at Finland, it's from the age of 7. That's when the children start going to school. They focus on play-based learning. That is, the early learning education emphasizes on playing, creativity, and social skills, which builds a strong foundation before formal education. They also have highly qualified teachers. All teachers must hold a master's degree, ensuring high quality instruction in all stages of education. And then they have no standardized testing. So Finland minimizes standardized testing and focuses on formative assessment. So there is nothing like, oh, I have exams, I'm going to, it's a formative assessment. And with this formative assessment, a help guide, personalized learning for the student. And finally, they have quality in education, where there's no tracking of students into ability groups, and schools are equally funded, ensuring equitable access to quality education. So if you look at the approach, and you look at the approach of, Ghana, where children at the age of 6, they are doing mental, dictation, and all of that. We don't even have the resources for practicals. Is another thing altogether. So could also that be the reason why we are having the children in school spending more years? Maybe they are not really learning. That's why we are not producing more quality with regards to the number of years in school as compared to, a country like Finland?
Yes, so you would recall that talking about the indices of quality, I spoke about the process index and I highlighted on what I call the teaching methods and pedagogy. So what you clearly, reiterated was on teaching methods and pedagogy. In our part of the world, we are interested in rote learning and, your ability to recite and then, rattle, and that makes you a very good student. And I think that this is where we need to vary our teaching style and pedagogy, and also do some adjustment to our curriculum right from the basic level. And I think that some strides are being made in that regard, with the recent change in the curriculum, when focus is now on STEM and science-based, courses, and where focus is now on skill and not necessarily, certification. As somebody who lectures in the university, I always tell my students that everybody can have a certificate, but what will make you stand out is your skill. So the focus should be based more on skill rather than certification. And I think that to a large extent, this has been our bane over the years. Everybody wants to rush through the process, get something to claim that I am this or I am that, but what exactly the person can do becomes a problem. So it's a shared responsibility. Teachers want to have their way through. Educational regulators and implementers also want to have their way through. And for that matter, parents also want to, some parents even want to pay money for their children to pass an exam. So
that's another thing.
It's a collective responsibility. I think that if parents should be to change their line of thinking, if educational instructors and teachers should be more serious and focus on their job, and policymakers should make available the resources that are needed, there could be a win-win situation for all of us.
Right.
And our quality may come up.
Okay, so let me come to you, Mr. Noel. Talking about the number of years that children are spending in school, do you agree with the UNICEF's findings that it's only 5.7 years that we have, quality education?
Yeah, and also let's come to it. The question's better. You should find out where does that year lie. Is it at a basic level, the secondary level, or the tertiary level?
It's basic.
The basic.
Yeah.
If it's at the basic and such quantum of years are spent, we should still do further probing. Is it at the lower basic or the upper?
So this is actually from basic to the secondary level.
To the secondary.
Tertiary is not part of it.
It's not part of it. So we should disaggregate them and really have it and tackle it properly. Because, for example, if there is an electrical fault in this room, we cannot say that because there is an electrical fault, we are removing everywhere.
Yeah.
That is how come now there are testing instruments, there are meters, and how to know where exactly the fault is to tackle. And also, is it because of the language? Finland, what language do they study in? They are studying in their heart, in their native language. And who also say that, do you know the most widely spoken language in the world? You say English, is that not so? But it's not, it's Chinese. How many people, how is the population of China? 1.something billion. And that group of people speaks one language. And they are learning in their language, doing everything in their language, to whatever level. And we here, what language are we using? English. And the English in some places, the one teaching the English, tenses are problems, idioms are problems, and vocabularies and grammar is a problem. So how do you want such a person to impart to that basic fellow? And those are the formative age. If you want to get any adult to behave and do anything anyhow, and be able to do it with the very first 7 years of that child's life, how you program the child is very important. So we need to really look at it, that how do we put in? And please let me digress a little to respond to some issues.
Mr. J?
The two raised concerning politics.
Yeah.
And as they answer their very question, where did they land? Is it not on the politicians? What is our constitution saying? The constitution is the whole country. The constitution is Ghana. But what do we see? We've seen the two political parties. NDC say progressively free. NPPC saying what? Free now. And the free now, what are we getting? Is what we are, the problems that will be coming to in a jiffy. So this is why we are saying the politicization is not helping. But when we come to the country, which is the constitution, it might do us a lot good. to really tackle them very well, and also look at it that do we go back, that the very first foundation should be in our own languages and be able to follow that the child can understand very well. If addition, the child can understand from 1 to 7, that when you are talking of addition in their language, if it's the tree, if it's the ebe, if it's the gan, that when you add this to this in the language, so when it gets with English, then it's easier because English is not a mark of intelligence, it's just another person's language. So why not do it in our own language from the basic level that the child really is grounded in his own? When I speak English right now, for you to gain a very fine understanding, you translate it within yourself involuntarily to your mother tongue before bringing it. So we need to look at it.
So you feel, but you see, when we take a look at it, the languages that we have in Ghana, like you used Chinese as an example, they speak that language. In Ghana here, there are different languages that are spoken in different areas. So when you go to the Volta, the language is different. When you come to Greater Accra, the language is different. When you go to, the Akan areas, the language is different. So what language can we teach these children in?
Very good. The question, we have Ghana, we have about 49 registered languages. Is that not as we study?
Yeah.
But I believe we have Bible in all those languages. Do we have Bible in all those languages?
So what will happen will be that then we have to have teachers who are hailing from these areas to teach there.
Exactly. And how do we have the School of Languages in our university? What do they teach there? So what's the use of those people who go to those places to learn the languages? So the languages that they go to the university to study must be put to use.
But the languages they study in these schools are not the University of Ghana, the School of Languages.
Yes.
They study Spanish, they study French. They don't study ever. They study ever, but it's not deep. I mean, do you understand?
So that means we've not prioritized our need as a nation.
Okay. I like that one. So let me bring you in, Mr. Kofi. Talking about, us having a common language, our basic schools, we are not really teaching French. ICT is another thing that we are not teaching. Why so?
Okay, I think where the context for this conversation is quality. And I think, and again, looking at the statistics from Finland, as you rightly said, and also we don't know the context that motivated the UNICEF research. In fact, I have my challenge about the 11.6 and the 5.7, but I will come to that later. Yeah. But I think we're jumping the gun a little bit when we talk about quality. The context of our nation, our population, the demography. Ghana is a very, very youthful society. You go to Finland. Finland is an aging society. So the number of children against adults is relatively lower.
Okay.
Whereas here, the majority of our children fall within the school-going age. And you look at those who are even out of school between the ages of 4 and 17, you just showed it from the UNICEF. So indeed, our issue here in Ghana is access. Getting children access to education. Until you get them in, you cannot talk about quality. And access would mean that when you remove the barriers, for example, child poverty, cultural, biases against taking children to school and all those things, when you remove all those barriers, then you are having access to education. Now, that will also mean that quantity, a lot of children will, once you say there is going to be free, you're not paying this, you're not paying that, and then a lot of children are going to go into school. So we cannot remove that aspect of quantity. It is only after access and quantity, then, as Prince rightly said, the educators begin to come in to sieve it out, to bring in all the elements of quality that will come in.
Mr. Kofi, I'm not cutting you, but giving access to school and not giving them the quality that they require or they need, then it means that we are still going to have quantity over quality, because we look at what I said. We don't have the resources in most of these areas. There are schools under trees. These children don't have desks they sit on. Some of them don't have uniforms. Some of them have to go a very long distance before they even go to classroom. It's free, all right, but what quality are you giving to them?
Let's not bastardize, let's not bastardize quantity. We are a developing economy. Our population, our demographics are not the same as the developed economies. The British system started on quantity. You know, the secondary mode in education from 1948, when they introduced the new educational system. It was all, the focus was on quantity. Quality is invested in over a period of time. So we cannot jump straight away from the basics to quality. Quality will come. Quality will come in infrastructure. Quality will come in instruction. Quality will come in assessment. Quality will come in skills that they learn in school. Now, these days, the emphasis is gradually drifting onto STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. When I was in school, those things were not there. Now it is going into technical, vocational. So children are being given education which is skills-based. So gradually, we're building onto quality. But it doesn't happen overnight. So straight away, if we say that our children are in school, but they're not learning, and therefore it's quantity over quality, I think we're jumping the gun a little bit.
No, so for us, this conversation is bridging the gap.
Yeah.
We are not looking at quantity and leaving the quality out. We are looking at having the quantity to merge with the quality so that we don't have a problem of bringing out or churning out so many students that they are not of good quality.
Well, I mean, what is the outcome? For example,
okay.
If we look at the performance of children over the last, I would say, about 10 years, I mean, of course, what we know is the use of WASSCE as an assessment focus. Okay. In Finland, there's no testing. It's formative assessment. I mean, I went to school in UK. Nobody would test you. You know, it's just by presentations and so on and so forth. But we haven't quite got there yet. Eventually, that is the way to go. But until we get there, we have our own form of assessment. And if you look at over the last 10 years, the performance of our children, you know, from maths to integrated science to English as a language, and you can see that there's improvement. I mean, I have some figures here. I'm just like the UNICEF gave you figures. I could also give you figures which shows that consistently our children are performing better. So that it is not too bad when we say that we have opened the floodgate and a number of children are going to school. They are going to school and they are achieving well. So we need to give our educators some credit. Of course, there is going to be infrastructural difficulties. Once you've opened the floodgate, school classrooms are going to be in shortage. So we need to build over time. Teachers are going to be in shortage. You need to, create more teachers over time, build more training colleges and assess more teachers and bring them out and all those things. Schools under tree that you mentioned, it is not a recent phenomenon. What communities do is that when they want to force the hand of enablers like government, they will create a school in their community. It will start from under a tree. And then over a period of time, government will come in and support them. So when we talk about schools under tree, it is not something which is bad in itself. It's the community forcing the hands of policymakers to recognize their community and create a school. So from the school under tree. But
so for this, Mr. Krivi, it is bad. For this, it is bad. I bet. So you said having schools under trees is not bad as per se, but it is bad because when we are looking for votes, we go to these communities and they vote for us. And so we don't have to wait for them to start these schools under trees and say that we want them to force us to start.
New communities emerge.
Yeah, right.
New communities emerge.
But we still go there for votes.
Yes, new communities emerge. And when new communities emerge, the first thing that the leaders of the community will think of is to create a school. Okay? And when they create a school, it doesn't start, I went to a school which was made of raffia palm.
All right, I'll come back to you.
I became a lawyer. Yeah.
No,
let's put this in a context because you see, sometimes when we try to create an impression which out there might look like things are so bad, but that is not what it is. When a community, for example, from the picture that you're looking at, in my school, sometimes we could go under a tree to go and do reading, or just simply because we want to get some fresh air from the tree. So the fact that a school is taking place under a tree needs to be put in the context. Under what circumstances is this happening? But when a new community feels that we need a school or we need to educate our children and they start something locally, then the government or the municipal assembly or the district assembly will come in and then they put a structure in. And gradually, it becomes a school. I started from under a tree, but now the school I went to is a 12-unit classroom block, a modern one now.
Okay. Mr. Alovi.
When you speak and they say they can't hear you, then we can.
Mr. Alovi, can you hear me, please?
Hello, yeah.
Yes. So,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you perfectly. So, how do we...
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mr. Alovi. How do we break... If you can lower the volume of your television set, please lower the volume of your television set for me. All right, so Mr. Alovi, I just wanted to find out from you. You are
Hello?
NDC
Can you hear
spokesperson.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. You are NDC spokesperson.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mr. Alovi. You are listening to yourself on TV, which becomes a problem because you have the feedback. There'll be delay.
No, currently I have a problem with the Zoom. That's why that feedback is coming to you.
If you lower the volume of your television set, you and I can have a conversation. You can concentrate on your phone. That one is much better. But once you have the volume of your television set on, we'll struggle. There's a delay. Mr. Alovi, I'll come back to you. Dr. Prince Ajay.
Yes, we can speak now.
Okay, Doc, how can we bridge this gap? Because it's quite worrying.
All right, thank you. So let me go back to where I started.
Can you hear me?
Doc, please speak for me.
All right, so let me go back to where I began from. So I was looking more into the input that goes into the educational production functional process. And so if we want to raise the quality of education, we need to address what goes into the input process. One problem has been the issue of funding. If we are able to raise educational quality, we need money. And so I would advocate that government makes it a priority, even though it is a priority, but we should have more targeted funding, resourcing our students with the necessary interventions like books, having good libraries, paying teachers well, so that when they find themselves in the classroom, they can give off and deliver their best. We'll also have to look at issue of monitoring and evaluation. There have been arguments about why should teachers go through licensure exams. I am with the view that you can only give what you have. So if educators or teachers or instructors are able to go through their mill and have a very good standing, that is where they can pour out what they have, to the students. Beyond that, I also feel that in the area of governance and administration, we need to have all the stakeholders on board. We cannot divulge parents from school management. We cannot divulge teachers from school management. We cannot divulge the regulated from school management. So these parties, must be synergized. And the issue of school management committees must also be strengthened so that they play a very good oversight responsibility on what is done. We also need to agree on what are the standard KPIs for a good school. All right. If we do not have standard KPIs, everybody will be doing what he or she wants, probably because of lack of supervision. If somebody finds himself in a rural setting where he feels that no medication officer is coming to monitor his or her works, they can do whatever they like. So in conclusion, what I would say is that, to borrow the words of the Mr. Kofi in the studio, it is a continuous process. We shouldn't bastardize the process. I believe that, access is also very important, because until one gets access, you cannot even evaluate the level of quality. It is better to at least to go through the process than nothing at all.
Right.
So the accounts will say, "Achia," then so you
yeah.
something can be done about it.
I like
Thank
that.
you.
Noel,
Hello.
parents, our children, we always say that our children spend a lot of time in school as compared to spending time with us. And we asked the question with regards to the findings from UNICEF. What do they spend their time on in school, if UNICEF is telling us this?
That is the question. To ask our teachers and to ask our policy formulators. And I'll come back when we want to really bridge the gap between the quality and the quantity, then we should look at these things. Misalignment of policy. We should also look at funding, priorities, lack of access and inclusion. We should also look at physical barriers. We should also look at curriculum constraints. Then inadequate personnel. That is the teachers or teaching. You see, so when we put all these things together, then if someone say all these things are in place, then the question is then what exactly goes into our children is the problem now, or is the issue? And also, as our Mr. Kofi earlier said, and Doc also added, that Achia Nanso Emuye, and we are all talking of certification. We are talking of foundation also. That, as I said, we should really look at our education policies. Is the policy really feeding us? Or we are just doing certificate chew and pour exam? That when they vacate, my child he's in class 3 going to class 1 of my last ones, twins, were class 3 going to class 4, they should learn timetables. As to what that timetable is going to give him, mental. Then one time I said they should recite 8 or so 9 timetable. I'm going to examine them. I said, Papa, you can't examine us. I allow my children to be very inquisitorial, and they should talk back to me. It's not a fight, it's not disrespect, in a polite manner. I said, Papa, you cannot examine us on what you have not taught us. Therefore, that is not an exam. That means you just want to get us into corner, to deny us something. So is that what we are doing to our children at schools? Or we are teaching them to have playing K2s and all that around? And also, when we look at our system, it's quite jerky, because the society, we have not sat around the policy table to really fine-tune our education. That's why we have the Montessori. And where do these Montessori people end? They go to some of them go to the secondary schools that are government-based. And what do they learn there? And that is not Montessori secondary, if I'm right. So what do they end up with? And how do they come out? So if we are going to really build a formative year where we have things that they understand what it is to add, what it is to do multiply, what it is to subtract, so you hear that the cognitive development of this child is very important. So when you are not teaching him in a foreign language because you want him to be internationally synchronized with his peers out there, it becomes easy. Let me tell you, those who are very good English speakers, they are those who have control over their mother tongue, who understand them. Those who are good writers, most of them are those who have a very good understanding of their mother tongue.
Right. So let me come to you, Mr. Kofi. Talking about this, Doc did speak on funding, and we are hearing Noel also speak on funding. Looking at the findings from UNICEF, we are actually seeing that there is a decrease in the funding, where there's a 13% decrease in basic education funding. It used to be, it was 39%, now it has gone to 19.6%. Now, Let me start by saying free SHS is fantastic. It's allowing a lot of young people to be in school.
Hence
But
quality. Hence quantity.
But Wasi is saying that the quality is good, though.
We will come to that in a jiffy.
Wasi says the quality is good. So, people out there will think that because of free SHS, which is a good policy, which a lot of Ghanaians are benefiting from, is the reason why this decline is happening. Is that so, or it's not? And if it's not, please let us know why.
Right. Okay, let me put you in the context of funding. We have, as a government, tripled educational funding between 2017 and 2020.
Okay.
We have tripled it. It used to be 6.9 billion. Now, we do, in 2023, we spent 18.5 billion. Of course, there was a dip during the COVID years because we all know the need for nations, and especially our country here, to revisit its funding because of the devastating effects of COVID. So from 6.9 to 18.5, cumulatively, the government has spent about 129 billion on educational funding since 2017, as of 2023. And what has the money been used for?
You said how much was used? Sorry, mention the money again.
Billion.
What billion?
Cumulative, 129 billion.
129
billion as of
billion.
2023.
Okay.
And what has the money been used
From when to when, please?
From 2017.
2017.
It
Okay.
used to be 6.9.
Okay.
The money has been used for feeding school children. It's been used to give access to children, to be used in building infrastructure, to be used in enhancing teachers' conditions of service. That is what, and provision of laptops, for example, tablets, we call it here, tablets for students, and vehicles for schools. These are all small steps that go to enhance quality, because feeding children is so key. I used to head a school in UK. The punctuality rate and the attendance rate was so poor. What I had to do was to introduce a breakfast club in the school. And that was to get children to school at 7 a.m. so that they could have breakfast before school would start at 8:30. Now, suddenly, the changes in children's demeanor, their access to learning, and their attentiveness in school doubled. The school was a failing school. It became a very good school by Ofsted standards. School feeding is something that we take for granted. It really enhances children's ability to listen and learn. And that is what we have consistently. We've fed over 4 million children from early years, through basic education. Now, we have given access to 5.7 million young people into secondary school. That's why I'm saying that quantity is not so bad, because if you look at the WASSCE result, you begin to see how.
But my question is to do with the basic side. I said that, when we look at the free SHS, it's a fantastic policy. There are so many people that have benefited, and we will never sit anywhere and say that, no, free SHS is no good. It's a very fantastic policy. The NPP government has done so well because the beneficiaries always talk about it and say that it's helped them. But we are looking at a decline in the budget for the basic education. And people are thinking that this decline is due to the fact that there's more concentration on free SHS.
Well, it is not entirely so. For example, if you look at the infrastructural development, okay, KGs, we have built 795 KGs across the country. Close home here in Accra, go to Kwabenya and look at the KG facility. Now, these are modern facilities that we are creating. It is not just a long wall on L-shaped classroom blocks that we're giving to the children. These are modern facility, KGs, 795 of them. Primary schools, we have built 1,217 primary schools to add to the existing ones that we have here. We have introduced a national standard testing for those who are in primary 2 and primary 4. Of course, in creating the infrastructure, you also have to assess the children to see the ability of numeracy, reading, and writing. It used to be 2%. Now it's gone to 38%. Now that is improvement. We are not out of the woods yet. 38% is not good enough. But at least from 2% to 38%, there is increase, and there is improvement. And then the JHS, now modern JHS buildings are now being put in place. We've built 1,791.
That are in use?
Yeah,
They are
that I
in
knew.
use.
Now, there
I'm saying,
are
are they in
11,
use?
there are new ones that have been added to existing ones.
Okay.
Yeah. There are 11 model schools, which, it's got computer labs, science labs, modern JHS buildings that are being put in place to add to the existing ones. So really, infrastructure-wise, because the numbers are increasing and the number of more children are going to school, and therefore there is infrastructure shortage, physical infrastructure shortage. And therefore you need to create more buildings, for these children. And then who are the educators now? From 2017, let me give you some figures here, just to put in your context. In terms of diplomates that we have employed, graduates, non-graduates, teaching assistants, and replacement teachers for those maybe who have left, or gone on retirement. From 2017 to 2018, we recruited 35,000 teachers. 2018, 2019, 23,000. I can go on and on. 2022, 2023, 15,217. So consistently, we are recruiting more teachers as we also increase their conditions of service. In 2016, December, an assistant director, a teacher with assistant director status, was receiving 1,351 cedis and 55 pesos.
That's an assistant director as of that time.
As at that time, principal superintendent.
Okay, and now?
Now it's 3,699.33. Assistant directors were receiving 1,626.9. Currently, they're receiving 4,453.58. So it is not just that the quantity or the free SHS, which is taking all our attention, but we are moving it right from early years through primary to JHS. Now, when we talk about the SHS, all that we have done is to redefine basic education. Okay. The SHS is part of basic education. Let's not get it wrong.
Okay.
The SHS is part of basic education. We have redefined basic education from KG up to SHS 3.
All right. Let me go on Zoom and speak with Mr. Alovi. Mr. Alovi, I hope now the Zoom is better.
Yeah, it's better now. I drove from the link. Sorry for that.
That's okay. Now, when we take a look at Finland, that is actually producing a lot of quality students with the quantity, so they've actually bridged the gap, and we want to bridge that gap. One thing that is very significant is the fact that the teachers have to have a master's degree before they teach. However, the NDC is saying that they will cancel the licensure exams if voted into power. Now, if you take a look at that, then someone, somewhere might say that, it will bring us to a realm where we have teachers, low quality teachers, who now have to teach these students.
Thank you. Let me first come back a little bit to talk about essentials of quality education. We have to get availability of qualified, trained, and skilled teachers. And luckily for us, they said 96% of teachers in the field are qualified, are trained. We also have to have effective pedagogy. I use the word effective because the method of teaching can differ from a teacher to a teacher. You may have about 2 math teachers teaching you mathematics in the classroom. You may understand one teacher, you may not understand the other one. It depends on how effective that teacher has been able to impact whatever content is trying to impact the students. And also, we also have in Ghana the teacher-student ratio. Overcrowding in a classroom, a teacher taking more than 7,800 students in one class can affect quality education. And we also need to have effective teacher professional development, not like the PLC that they are doing in school now. It might be effective professional development for the teachers. Then resource availability in the schools, technology and digital tools, teaching and learning materials, libraries, classrooms. Somebody said about 5,000 schools still under trees, and about 1 million students don't have furniture to sit on. So if a student is lying on the floor to read, to more or less study, how effective would that study be? So those are the things that listen. The teacher absenteeism. Unfortunately, the welfare of teachers are not taken care of by this government. Let me say governments, okay. You remember when the teacher unions went to the president to invite you for the occasion, he said, you cannot be rich when you are a teacher. You must add on another job for you to be comfortable in teaching. So yes, teachers are leaving the classroom to do and do other jobs. That's what is accounting for the absenteeism. So there are a lot of things.
The 11% absenteeism, that's what accounts to it?
Yes. Then Mr. Crosby was talking about funding. But we have seen the data from the UNICEF that the actual government expenditure reduced from about 19% to about 10.6%, 10.9%. So gradually, the actual expenditure...
Are you talking about the decrease in the government budgets for the basic schools?
Yes, please.
Okay,
yes.
so it's actually reduced by 13%.
Yes.
Yes.
So
it used to be 39% and now it's 19.6%.
That's it. So the actual expenditure is reducing. You may allocate in the budget an amount, but if it's not dispersed, that is not the expenditure. Now let me come back to your question about the teacher and session examination. What do we say that we have employed teachers at the College of Education? They have engaged the students for 4 good years to teach them to become they are supposed to use a 6-hour examination to pen and paper examination to assess them. And if they fail, they are not teachers. Teachers have done 4 years in content and in pedagogy. They have gone on teaching practice for about a year to learn how to teach. So when we are saying that we are going to cancel the examination, we are saying that we are going to incorporate whatever examination there is in their final examinations at the College of Education, so that when they write and pass, they don't have to come back to the field to be writing another examination. What we need to do is to assess them on their practical learning methods, teach in the field, to renew their licenses, not writing of examination. Now, if there is any shortfall in the teachers, now we are talking about examination malpractices. Those teachers, those students who get grade 6 through examination malpractice will enter the nursing training college, will enter the College of Education. So whose fault is it? If we don't check, government has the power to check the malpractice in the system. So one other thing that we can do to check is when they are entering the College of Education, to see are those who went there with 4 results, so that they don't enter with 5th grades that will affect their...
But you see, if you take a look at what Finland is doing, where it's only teachers with master's degree that are allowed to teach, don't you think that maybe you should rather say that, okay, we are also going to take a look at, if you don't have a first degree or a master's degree, we are not going to allow you to teach. Let's take a look at that rather than saying that we are cancelling licensure exams?
Yes, we have upgraded the College of Education to degree awarding. Formerly, we have certificate A teachers, we have secondary, we have specialists, we have diplomas. Now you must have a first degree to qualify to teach in the education service. So we are making progress. We have done that one. We have made a master's degree holders also in the system. But the minimum qualification now is a degree
holder.
Degree.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. I'll come back to you. Let me go to Doc. Before I go to you, I think that there are so many messages that if I don't read them, my viewers will kill me. So if the messages are ready, please, can you project them for me to read a few messages? And then after that, I can go to Dr. Ajay. The messages, if they are ready. Thank you so much. So all these messages, it seems I've ignored my viewers. Dear viewers, I haven't ignored you at all. All right, so... let me see. Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
Well, then Then we also have to wish you a happy birthday.
I know, it's not my birthday though. So I'll start from here. All right, so this one says, good morning to you. It's essential for us as a society to recognize the negative impacts of illegal mining and take a firm stance against it. Okay, Aaron will do that very soon. This one says, shout out to the Joy Prime TV team. Your hard work pays off. Please keep on motivating, entertaining us, and we'll be forever grateful to you. I'm Scarlett Spring from Aguna. Scarlett, thank you so much for your message. Good morning to all Ghanaians, and most especially the man with the number 8, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. This government doesn't believe in the right of Ghanaians to demonstrate, so let's wait and vote. Okay, we hear you. Good morning. I know that NPP and EC bosses are not serious about Ghanaians. The agenda for NPP is to punish the NDC, but God is not sleepy. Okay, we hear you. Okay. This one says, good morning, Rosalind. Why NPP always announcing about free SHS implementation, but have you ever seen them speak and be proud of the quality? NPP can only deceive Ghanaians for a while. Just look at how double tracking, how it has led so many of our wards into illiteracy. Oh, illiteracy is strong. Illiteracy means that you didn't go to school at all. Some can't even write their full name. Really? What a shame. NPP should be talking about how to better the free SHS instead of touting the implementation as an achievement. And all these parents, they pay and put camera on them to speak fabulous about free SHS should know the consequences ahead is so huge. Prince Val from Ablekuma. Mensa Majid from Toronto says that let's vote massively for JDM to arrest the looters, stabilize the city, implement good policies like 24-hour economy, the Women's Bank. Okay. All right. So, all right. Good morning to you and your panel members. Although we are facing with difficulties in our economy, the NPP government is still doing well in our educational sector. There's more for improvement. Please, 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 respectfully, let's vote to number 1 for Dr. Baumia for progress. All right. Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm says, Rosalind, I am happy to see that education is on the table for us to discuss this morning. I'm particularly sad to see that our GHS has been neglected to the benefit of the free SHS. No one is talking about our GHS schools again. We should stop playing politics with our educational system in this country. In my humble opinion, the free SHS should be reviewed for the betterment of our children. Report shows that quality in education is a big problem for our children now. Truth be, this system of double track is not also helping at all. Why will children go to school for months and come back home and stay for 3 months? That's totally unacceptable. Government must do something about it. Technology will show you technology. All right, this one says, good morning, Joy Prime. I'm very happy for today's discussion. Frankly speaking, teachers are not getting what they deserve. Up till now, the government has refused to upgrade teachers to their rightful positions. I'm therefore appealing to the government to do everything humanly possible to allow the system upgrade the teachers to their rightful positions. All the upgrading applications from the deserving teachers are all packed into the GES headquarters without attending to them. Government, please kindly allow the system to pick the application forms. Blueprint Esicado says, it is a fact that Anado putting his presidency on the line for fighting Galamsey today is not about Galamsey, darling. Meshach Amasaman says the government should immediately release the Democracy Hub demonstrators. No, today is not about demonstration, darling. Akonsi Gariba from Tamale said, good morning, Rosalind. Everyone is against Galamsey in Ghana, but Labour should stop meddling politics with the Galamsey menace. Okay, we hear you today. I want to talk on education. Ahassan Sise from Zenu Central says, sometimes I wonder why some people want us not to politicize education, while it is the politicians who introduced this unpopular policies and founded them, and they make so many slogans on education, and when we are not getting the needed results of politicians publish programs, they want us not to say they are the ones who cause us that. This is even not education alone, all sectors of our economy. When politicians promise publish programs and policies to Ghanaians and it has not yielded the needed results, they must take responsibility of that. Good morning, Rosalind. We have deviated from the best education we used to have. Why did we stop subjects like life skills, vocational skills, calabash art, technical skills, technical drawing, core agric, etc.? Why? Simon, I've been calling on this as well. I'm just wondering when it will all come back. Life skills, for me, I don't know, it guided me so much. Anyway, good morning. The NDC gentleman couldn't hide his hatred for free SHS. I don't know the exact problem with the policy. The issue on board is about quality education. So why is he talking about free SHS? How quality was it when there was no chalk to teach? How quality was it when teachers taught for years and get paid for 3 months? I think the attention of government has shifted from the basics to the secondary, TVET and STEMs, which is affecting the quality of the basic level. In my view, government should derive a strategy of improving the early basics, which is the foundation of education. Proper monitoring and evaluation and good catering of teachers will help improve our education. Osno Amir. Osno, I like this. Good morning, Rosalind, and your panel members. The free SHS is a laudable policy, especially our northern region. It has come to reduce the burden. If not, the SHS, many children would have been at home without education. That is disastrous. We all know there are challenges. Government is working assiduously to correct those challenges. Mamudu Zahabegu. Mamudu, I tried to mention your name, but thank you so much for sending your message. Ghana has improved in both quality and quantity in relation to education. Today, our TVET schools have been restored. The STEM schools has also brought into a practical shift from the book-based learning. Ghanaian children are today winning international prizes in robotic competitions. They are manufacturing cars, drones, incubators, the dialysis machines, all in Ghana here. The future of the country will be so exciting. Let's protect this legacy by keeping NPP in power. It is possible. Master Planner Junior. Okay. Good morning, beautiful sister Rosalind. Why are we blaming where we fell instead of where we stumbled? All that we are saying boiled down to one thing, and that is condition of service of teachers. Go to the rural areas and see how teachers are suffering. As for the qualification, forget. Pupil teachers are doing very well in private schools. Political spider Kintampo. Now, talking about private schools, teachers doing very well in private schools. I have a question that I'll ask, and I think that will be directed to Doc. Sami Boacha Samankase says, when it comes to quality and resources in education, NPP led by President Kufuor and Dr. Bawumia are second to none, and in the history of Ghana, no political party can compete in the success of education. Free SHS has come to stay. Let's help protect it by the way of voting massively for Dr. Bawumia to continue with the good works of Nanado, and it's possible just to thumbprint number 1 to break the 8. Let's say no to Galamsey. Regards to Honorable Charles Champo, MP for Asamankasi. All right. All right, so this one says, good morning, host. How can we have quality education with lack of facilities, poor wages for teachers, and wholesale promotion of non-performing students? This is what we get when the leaders play politics with education. Besides, our education is run by politicians who have no expertise or experience in education. Garbage in, garbage out. All right, so it says it's very insulting to boast of paying 5,000 cedis to workers when especially assistants take more than 2,000 cedis every month. Can politicians feed their dogs with, oh, 20,000. Oh, you're saying that, okay, special assistants take 20,000 and teachers take 5,000. So for that, you think that it's not a fair thing, right? Anyway, so let me go to Doc. Doc.
Hi.
Doc, you know, when it comes to inspection of what the teachers teach in schools, the Ghana Inspectorate Board actually do concentrate so much on the private sector. When it comes to the government sector, do they put in that kind of energy? And if they don't, is that the reason why we are seeing less quality in government schools?
Okay, thank you. I think that in the public schools, we know that teachers are supposed to prepare lesson notes, and sometimes even questions are vetted before students are examined. So there is some degree of supervision that goes on in the public schools. But you see, the popular Ghanaian mentality in doing a public work is that we they are Benjuma. So you can't fire me. Even if you are the headmaster, you can't fire me. But if you are working for a private entity, you know that the standards are very high. Somebody is paying money out of his pocket for you. And so fear of being victimized, fear of being fired will make you put in your best. So I think that to a large extent, we also need to work on our attitudes. In the public service, when you are applying for a promotion, you need to prepare an application dossier and exhibit of your teaching notes, your questions, etc. are all added. So for you to be promoted to the next rank, you are going to be validated on all these things. And for me, that is also a point of, checking the quality of staff that goes on there. We cannot rule out the fact that there will be a few excesses, but one has to do, for instance, with the number of students to teacher ratio. If you have one teacher handling over 100 students in class, it's going to be very difficult. There are some private schools where you will go and the maximum number of students in a class is 10, 15. So teachers are able to, have interaction with students. They are able to identify each student and their specific needs or problems and put in interventions, for them. But we cannot say same for, the public. So I think that all in all, that is a situation that we face. And I think that was the reason why some time ago, there used to be this morning and afternoon shift in some public schools because the numbers were quite, overwhelming. In a situation where you liberalize education to ensure that everybody comes into the system, and such problems will be fatal. And that is why in my earlier submission, I said the provision of learning materials and resources are key.
Yeah.
Now we are preaching technology and digitalization.
Before you continue, let me ask you this. Somebody sent a message saying that can we bring back the life skills, the vocational skills, the technical skills? Do you agree with that? Do you think that's helpful?
Yes, because I recall that there is the life skills, vocational skills, and all that. To a large extent, I noticed that some of these subjects have been merged into others, like this, what do you call it? Our world, our people. They have something called BDT, creative arts, and all those things. But in terms of the content, the details of the content as it used to be, I think that a lot of things, have gone up. Now, even at the basic level, we do not have agricultural science as main subject on its own. And we used to say that Ghana is an agrarian economy. And if Ghana is an agrarian economy...
I learned irrigation in primary school.
Exactly. At the basic level, they are not exposed to all this. So some aspect of our curriculum also needs to be looked at. And I subscribe to the view of, bringing back these life skills. And I learned how to cook jollof,
through life skills, right? I mean, the things that we learned, and I can assure you that there are so many people who are into, the TV sector or the creative sector just because of life skills. They were learning how to do crochet or learning how to paint calabash, and they are making money out of it now. So even if they say the government is not creating jobs, they have found ways and means of creating jobs because...
Rosalie, let me add this. And then we used to do music and dance as well.
Music and dance, yes. Cultural studies. Yeah. So Fridays we go into our various groups. You go into your group, you go have fun, it shaped us, it molded us into who we are today. But we are not seeing that in our basic schools now. It's more or less like now it's more of books, it's more of reading, and that side has been left out. Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Noel.
To come to that, when we listen to Doc and Mr. Akrofi, you come to realize one thing, that the same report that you read from McConnell, he talks about that 98% of the budget allocations go into what? compensations. You get it? 98% in the same report, if you read it down, which I have here, it says 98% of the amount allocated for our education sector goes into what?
Compensation.
Compensations. So if looking at you may not appreciate the numbers when you look at 3,000 Ghana cedis for the number of district director one or whatever, multiply 3,000 by 500 or 500,000 or 50,000. How much is that? And let's look at how many classrooms do we have, for which we will have about 60, 69, 70, 100 children in the classroom. If enough space has been given, it could also help quality. And also, let's come to do this assessment. You see, here again, I'll come back. Let's depoliticize our education. The politicians may not agree, as my senior Alovi and they will not agree, but they are the ones shifting the poles, or they are not coming to the center. Because if we come to the center, where you see, we need no UN, we need no UNESCO to tell us how our education is doing. We should see the quality of our education in our children.
Right.
If my child is in school for 11 years and cannot write myself, or cannot write about the father, how good is that? Or cannot explain simple things to me in their own our time, when we were in school, what you are talking about now, the life skills and how I learned how to sew apron.
I saw my torn things now because of that.
And because of, and I love gardening. You know, we cannot feed ourselves. We are talking of STEM. We are talking of that. If you are by the computer, you've not feed yourself, you are hungry, you'll be typing gibberish.
Anyway, this all time will permit us. Let me take final opinion from Mr. Krufi. Mr. Krufi, we are almost done, so just 1 minute. You just make a point so that we can end the conversation.
Well, I mean, it comes back to the earlier point that I made, that education should be standardized and should be sustainable. I mean, it should not be down to political football, where every political party or different governments will come and then put back what somebody has put in. We're going to review, we're going to do this and things like that. Education should be something that should always be moving forward. It should be standardized. And I think we shouldn't also say that because of quality, we are going to deny our children. You know, it is down to teaching and learning, teaching styles, differentiation that can be done. Government is only an enabler. Government can create the facilities, but it is the educators, it is parents like Noel, who, and of course policymakers and teachers who can move education forward. And I think it's something, and you media.
That's we can move education forward if only we'll have a government listening to us when we call on subjects that when it's taught in school, these children will benefit. Because like Noel, myself, as parents, we can only talk about it, but if government doesn't implement it, there's nothing that can be
government is only an enabler.
Okay.
No, they will create the environment for children to learn, by providing the infrastructure.
But when you're changing the curriculum, it's the government that changes it.
Well, I mean, government doesn't
They do so without calling the parents.
Governments don't change curriculum.
So who changes the curriculum?
Yeah, it is the educators. It is the
but
things.
who put them
For
there?
example, the NPP manifesto, before anything that we have put in this manifesto, we had to meet all the teacher unions. And they are the ones who gave us the ideas as technical people as to how they want education to be implemented, and it is this which informed,
All right,
which informed our
Mr.
policy
Alobi, I'll come to you very soon.
as NPP. So it is not governments that change manifestos. Sorry, change curriculum.
Okay.
It is educators who recommend changes in curriculum.
Okay, Mr. Kwame Alobi, your final words before you go, please. Under 1 minute.
Let me say that the idea of this politicization maybe is being misconstrued. Education, health, everything is captured in every party's manifesto. And we make choices. If your choice does not represent the national interest, and other people also have interest to speak about it, it is not politicization. We are also presenting the choices, other alternative choices that are different from what you have made. For me, I would appeal to government. The untimely release of grants, capitation grants to the schools, and even to the senior high schools is affecting quality education. And also, this centralized deployment of teachers from headquarters, where every teacher that comes to the city has to be posted from headquarters. grant transfer have to be effected from headquarters. Last week, I read a letter from the GS headquarters asking directors of education to reverse transfer that is made. There's a school in Central Region, if they like, can lead to them. They have 9 excess teachers in that school. And the head teacher came to report to the director that he does not need those teachers. Other schools are in short supply. The director told him that they are posted from headquarters, allow them to be there. It's not your money that's being used to pay them. So the deployment must be localized to the directors. They know the shortfalls in each school so that we can ensure quality education in the areas.
All right, Mr. Alobi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. And Doc, your final words, we go. All right, so I think Doc is, yeah, Doc.
So in conclusion, what I would say is that education is a social good that affects everybody. The benefits of education cannot be overlooked, and therefore all stakeholders must be on board. Teachers must do their part, parents must up their game, and the regulators must also do their best to ensure that we maximize the gains thereof.
Right, thank you so much for joining us. And that was Dr. Prince Ajay, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana at the Economics Department. I was also joined by Mr. Hayford Atta-Krufi, who is a spokesperson for the NPP on education. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. And also Mr. Noel Kofi Malpebe. Oh my God. I think you have to give me a plate to eat. He's a PTA executive member. And also I was joined on Zoom by Mr. Kwame Alobi, who is a spokesperson for the NDC on education. Thank you all so much for making time for us this morning. We are super grateful. We do appreciate it so much.